Welcome to class day number 17 or 18. And in today's class, we are going to finish our analysis of data like we just said before now. So yesterday, we were able to prepare these data sets, utilize AI in the process, and we achieved at least 8 objective questions to answer using this data, which will help us to find the trend, the relationship, and the pattern using pivot table. Let us dive into this while we get our hands dirty. So now the first question is, what is the average horsepower of vehicles manufactured by Acura? So I'm going to go to the pivot table 1, which is, when we click on the pivot table 1, the pivot table field appears for us. And by default, we have 2 extended tabs for the pivot table. The one first is pivot table analyze, and the next is pivot the design. Pivot table analyze and design. So these 2 are extended tabs that will be open for us while we click and work with pivot table. So we are looking for Acura. So we are looking for the average horsepower of vehicle manufactured by Acura. And we are going to go to manufacturer. Okay, so we need to say we couldn't complete the action for the pivot table in the sheets because there's already a pivot table existing. Make space and then try again. So let's make space. Okay. Oh, wow. I need to make space underneath. So let's make space first. Insert. How many manufacturers do we have that is prompting us to make space? Okay, let's see if this space is enough. Okay, fine. So this space is enough now. Oh, wow. We have wonderful manufacturers, no doubt. So we are looking for average horsepower of vehicles manufactured by Acura. So let's come over here and look for horsepower. So this is the sum of horsepower of vehicles manufactured by Acura, by manufacturers. So let's come to Acura and let's look for models. Okay, so let's put models somewhere. Let's just insert. So you see what's happening here. You need to make space for all this to fit into the space intended for it while we answer the question. So let's come again. So looking for the models. Let's see. Let me take these models to manufacturer. Let me take it to columns. Oh wow. So I have more than enough. All right, so let us first of all filter out my Acura. So let's filter out Acura. We're looking for Acura. So we click on the filter drop down over here, and then on the usual filter, we click on select all and we choose Acura. So I'm looking for the models made with Acura. Let's see. Fine. So now it's fitted, right? This is the models made with Acura because you said what's the average horsepower of vehicles manufactured by Acura. So this is Acura, who is the manufacturer, and these are the models that are manufactured by Acura. If you want to say, okay, vehicle type, let's say vehicle type somewhere here. So Acura manufactures virtually a passenger vehicle type. So we might not want to use this because it's the same. So let's remove the field. So we remove the field, we click on the drop down. So let's explain the pivot table field for you. Over here is pivot table field. Everything here are all pivot table fields, right? And these fields are the columns you have in the data set over here. These are the columns you have in the data sets over here, right? These are all the columns you have in the data set over here. Why this other side of the pivot table field is called the bucket. So in the bucket, you insert different fields to show them in the table format, just as we are seeing here. So by default, when we click the manufacturer, we notice that it's added it to the rows. That was why I said that the pivot table 7 is overlapping it, right? By default, it adds it to the rows because it's a text data type. So text data type in every data field is being added to rows automatically, while numerical data types are added to values by default. All right. So text are added as rows by default. Numerical values are added as numerical data set are added inside the values bucket. So for columns to exist, that is when Excel by default, you notice that, okay, we've added some or more field that is actually supposed to be in a column. Like what we did here, we added the vehicle type, the model in a column to show that we want to see the models as the case may be. If we are to put models in rows, which is the default place supposed to be, to look this way, right? But we want to see it clearly in the column. That is why we are putting it down in the column, so it will be very much visible for us to see. Hence, the column is for clear visibility and for us to see the data types and values very well, just the way we have them in our usual table here, right? Where we have columns and then rows, right? So that's what we have. Then for filter is when we filter out a particular day, when we want to use a particular field for filtering. When we want to use a particular field for filtering, that's where the filter comes in. So let's say, for instance, now that we don't want to filter from this end. So let's just clear the filter. Let me remove vehicle types. And let me remove model. Let's just clear this filter and come back to where we were before. So this is where we were before, right? We will have the manufacturer and sum of horsepower as the values in the value bucket and rows bucket. So let's say we want to filter out for Akura, and we don't want to use the traditional way of clicking the drop-down arrow and choosing the particular field you want. We can just move manufacturer to filters bucket. All right. And then we will choose from this manufacturer right here. We'll now select all from this option that says select multiple items. So click on select all. And here check and only select Acura and to give us the sum of horsepower of Acura only. Now, that's okay. We are done with this. Let us now get the models. You click on the models now to go to rows. So see, we don't need to back over here for us to see what we had before. So that's the but and we just are on the question says what getting we want to see the vehicle manufactured by Acura and power. The question is average horsepower. We are having sum of horsepower. So we can change this to average by using method. The first method is always the goal for things is to come in the bucket field and then click on this arrow over here. When you click on this arrow, you have options that can be used to modify it. Something happens in the rule that so you have that can be used to modify it. Right? So each of these buckets have different functions that can be used, different buttons, sorry, that can be used to modify the data we are working with. Okay, so since we're looking for the average of horsepower, what we do is this: we click on the drop-down arrow beside the column name, and then we go to this value field settings. Value field settings. So we click on value field settings and we choose the option that says summarize value field by. That's where we are looking at, right? Summarize value field by. Choose the type of calculation that you want to use to summarize data from the selected field. And we are using the average. So if you scroll down, you see more of the summarizations, because summarizations is statistical, right? So that's why I'm seeing statistical functions here. So we are using average and then we click OK. So it gives us the average of horsepower. And we see that average of horsepower for integral is 140. For RL is 210. For TL is 225. So let's undo and see the next way we can actually achieve this, aside using the field bucket drawdown arrow beside the column name. So let's undo, and we have this. So to achieve the same process we did before, the same result we did before, we need to go through different process, and that is right-clicking on this particular column of sum of horsepower. And when you right-click, you see other options that are available for you to use, and you now see summarize values by. You also see show value as. Now, because this is a numerical data set, it will give you this as a particular option to use. In case you are looking for something like this, then you also see the value field settings as well. So you see anything we can see by right-clicking on this particular point of the values bucket. You can also see it from right-clicking on the column of numerical values. So you are going to choose average again, and we have this average of horsepower, right? So the average of horsepower of vehicles manufactured by Acura is all of this we have here. So let's quickly and comfortably reduce this particular average of horsepower. Yeah. So here we are going to rename the column label. So it is stamped row labels by default. So here we're going to change it to models, right? So models, that's what we're going to be. These are the models. These are the cars produced by Acura, the models produced by Acura, and their average horsepower has a grand total of 191.666. But let's see how we can make this look very much okay, because we are still having the same value even if you have a sum. Notice now, let's say sum. So it's still the same value, right? So let's just try to make something clearer here. So we're going to summarize value as average of grand total. So let's come to value field settings here. And so we're looking for average, then show value as what? We're looking to show value as, let's say you can get, okay, there's no aspect of using this here. I'm looking at getting maybe a average of grand total, but I'm not seeing it here. So it's fine. Now that means that Acura must have sold one vehicle. Let's confirm whether this is supposed to be so. So let's filter out Acura. Fine. So you see we are having this. So Acura sold just one of each of these models. So we are all good to go. All good to go. We're looking at horsepower, right? So look at the horsepower over here. Yes. 140, 225, and 210. So we are not on the wrong path, we are on the right path. So it's good to confirm all of this to know that you are not analyzing nonsense, as the case may be. So let's say right click and then average. So we are taking in this as the average of the horsepower, which is 191.667. So that's the average horsepower of vehicles manufactured by Acura. So let's have this just here and let us continue. So the average horsepower of vehicles manufactured by Acura is 191.667. So let's have this down. Average vehicles manufactured by Acura is 191.67. Right? The average horsepower of vehicles manufactured by Acura is this. Now let's continue. So let's reduce the space between the columns by deleting the existing columns that we are likely not going to be using any longer, because obviously, as you can see, we inserted a lot of columns and rows just to fit into what we need. But at the end of the day, we find out they are no longer needful because of answering the questions in quotes. So next is, which vehicle has the highest average? Which vehicle type has the highest average resale value based on provided data? So what's our vehicle type? Our vehicle type is in column E, which is passenger and cars. So let's come to the question. When you click on the pivot table field automatically opens for you. So we click on vehicle type, which is car and passenger. And the question says, which of these vehicle type has the average resale value? So let's get the resale value, which is this, right? So looking for the average year resale value, let us right click, summarize value by average. So the question again is, which vehicle type has the highest average resale value based on the provided data? So let's rename this column of car and passenger to be vehicle type, because that's what it is over here, vehicle types. In the rows bucket, you see it here, vehicle types. So vehicle type. So among this now, you can see clearly that the vehicle type that has the highest average resale value is passenger with $18.640. Remember that here the sale value is in thousands, right? It's in thousands. So this is $18,640. So we answer the question by saying the passenger vehicle type has the highest average year resale value. That's $18.640. So that is that. The passenger vehicle type has the highest average year resale value as $18.640. And remember, this is multiplied by 1,000, right? So it's $18,740, which is the average year resale value of a passenger vehicle type. So let's continue to the next question. What is the correlation between engine size and fuel efficiency? So engine size, fuel efficiency, let us get that. Engine size and fuel efficiency. Engine size, then fuel efficiency. We have this. So we can put engine size as a count by dragging it to the rows. So I'm going to drag from values here. I'm going to drag it down to rows. And it gives us the engine size. So let's remove, say that this particular, hold on, which row is covering it? That's pivot table 9. So let's insert for more of this. So let's insert more of this, more of this. Oh. So let's come back again. We're going to drag some of, because it's numerical data, it is being moved to the values field. So let's drag it to this. Okay, there's still more space to be achieved. So let's create more space because we need this space, right? I don't know how long is the engine size. I think it's going to be very long because we have about 118 engine sizes. Yeah, 117 engine sizes. So it's going to be a long data. What do we do here in this case? Remember that pivot table is used for summarizing data, but in a situation whereby you don't have enough of the rows, we can actually improvise. But here we have enough of the rows, so there ain't no need to improvise. So these are all the engine sizes from 1 to 8, and these are all their sum of fuel efficiency. So we have been asked the correlation between engine size and fuel efficiency. So these are engine sizes, individual engine sizes, and their total fuel efficiencies. So let's rename this column by calling it engine size. Right? Now this is fuel efficiency, and because we are dealing with correlation, which is statistical function, we are not going to be working with sum of fuel efficiency, rather be working with average fuel efficiency, because correlation is a statistical function and statistics is basically a sample of a population, right? That's what we defined. That when you talk about statistics in a kind of data this way, you must have to mention that we are dealing with peculiarly averages. So right click, summarize by average. So this is what we should have. We should like undo, redo, undo, redo. So this helps us to get the individual differences of every data point and helps us to understand actually what we are meant to know about each data point. So this is it, right? So with this, you can actually get the actual correlation between every engine size, because this will help us to get the, because we know that when we define the mean, we say that the mean is the average or the arithmetic average gotten by adding the total number of values and dividing by the actual number of values. So when we do that, it helps us to get the exact individual differences of each value. So next is manufacturer with the highest total sales in thousands. So let's come over here, click on the pivot table, and go to the pivot table field. The first one we're seeing there is manufacturer, so we click on it. Because it's a text data type, it's going to go straight to the rows bucket. Then sales in thousands, sales in thousands. So we click on sales in thousands. I have this. So we're looking at manufacturer that has the highest total sales in thousands. We might want to work with all the manufacturers as it is here, or we might want to just give it a summarization of choice. Now, what do I mean? Since we're looking at the highest total sales in thousand, we might want to summarize this particular data set by top 10, top 5, or top 3 for us to do in the highest total sales in thousands, right? Because our focus is answering the question, which manufacturer has the highest total sales in thousands? Although these other values might be important, but then we can still work around that. But we are going to leave it as it is here, but should assume that we want to get the top 10 or top 5. How do we go about it? So let's name this row to be manufacturer. And then let's right click. So to summarize this of top 10, we have to click on the drop down arrow here. And you see two options. You see label filters, you see value filters. So label filters is just like what happens in conditional formatting, where you have to choose the values greater than, less than, begins with, contains, and the rest of them, right? Equal to, does not equal to, between, not between. So these are what you see when you're using conditional formatting. But in value filters, now talk about the values of each particular labels. Now, labels there is manufacturer, values there is the sum of sales in thousands. That's why you have values as different options and you have labels as different options. So for value filters now, you are looking for top 10. So you have equals, does not equals, greater than, less than, or equal to, between, not between, and then top 10. So I'm going to just scroll down to top 10 and choose top 10. So let's right click once again, sorry. Filter. You can still see it here, right? You see value, label filters, value filter. When you right click, you can see top 10. So other cases that is easier for you to get through, no problem. You can still click here, value filter, see top 10, right? You can see right click on a particular cell, see filter, see top 10 too. So other cases you want to choose, you are good to go. Because we are showing you all of this for you to be sure that you don't have any excuse while working with data. So when you go to top, you see that you have top and bottom. See 10, can easily adjust this 10 using the button like this. Then items, right? You are summing the top 10 items, which is top 10 manufacturer. Items here is manufacturer, not anything else. So that's what we are summing. then by what? Sum of cells in thousands. That's what I'm going to work, because that's the only value field in the bucket. So let's see what it gives us as a result. Click OK. So then the top 10 manufacturer by sum of cells in thousands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the highest of them is 4, right? So let's say we want to still summarize it again. This time around, we want to make it to be top 5. So let's reduce by deleting the existing 10 there, changing it to 5. Then click OK. I think that it gives us the top 5. These are the top 5 manufacturers that has the highest total sales in thousands. And obviously, Ford has the highest total sales in thousands. So I'm going to highlight Ford with a color. This is easily done for, so that I can actually see it with ease in case I might misplace it or something. So let's just something fine. So say that we are not going to be using this, all right, because we have to get the entire manufacturer first. Then in that, we have to look into the highest of them all. So let's just clear the filter by clicking on this, and then clear filter from manufacturer. Then we have this. So Ford is I want to write here, Ford is the manufacturer with the highest sales in thousands. Ford is the manufacturer with the highest sales in thousands. So now let's come down to number 5 question. What is the average price of vehicles with a horsepower greater than 200? So let's click again. We're looking at price of vehicles, horsepower. So let's come to price of vehicles. So let's go to horsepower first and price of vehicles. So it says, what is the average price of vehicles with a horsepower greater than 200? So horsepower, then price of vehicles. So we're going to drag horsepower to rows. Remember we said that because it's a number data type or data format, Excel moves it to values. So let's move some of horsepower to rows. These are all the horsepowers we can think of. We're looking for horsepower that are greater than 200. So let's click on the column header for the row labels. Let's change it to horsepower. And then on the filter drop down, you can then go to label filter. Sorry, value filter. That's what we're looking at, right? So greater than what? 200. So I'm going to value filter here. You see greater than, less than, and then equal to, so greater than what? So sum of price in thousand. No, not that. We're looking for what? Horsepower. So we're looking for horsepower greater than, not smaller than. So let's get this right. You're looking at value filter. Show items for which sum of price in thousand equals. We're looking for horsepower that is greater than 200. So let's see. Let's just looking for horsepower. Here she have horsepower. Sum of price in thousand. No? We're looking for horsepower greater than 200. So let's check over here. Moment, please. Okay, fine. I've seen it. Label filters. I'm looking at greater than. So label filter is what? Horsepower. Show items for which the label is greater than what? 200. That's what you choose. You can choose other options too. So this is in label filter because horsepower is a label, but the fact is in rows. So click OK. So the question is, what's the average price of vehicles with a horsepower greater than 200? So these are horsepower greater than 200. So what are the average price in total? So let's click on the values and then let's click summarize by what average. So this is the average price of vehicles with a horsepower greater than 200. As you can see over here, they are from 205 to 450, and these are the average prices in thousands, as you can see. So we have answered this part of the question. What is the average price of vehicles with a horsepower greater than 200? Look at the average prices of vehicles. So if you are to get the total of the average price of vehicles, you see that they are sold at average price of $40,245,000. That's the average price of vehicles above 200 horsepower. The average price of all of them is at $40,245,000. So let's go to question number 6. How does the average cube weight of SUVs compare to that of sedans? So let's check if we already have SUVs there. I believe we have, because if not, ChatGPT we use for Excel and not give us sedans and SUVs. So let's see if I have sedans. Oh, I wonder what sedans is. Okay, there's no sedans here. So what does sedans means then? And what does SUVs means? Is there any SUV here? Let's see. I didn't see any SUV, so why did it ask such question? Oh, you can say ask what an SUV. So let's just ask the question. Equal to AI asks, right? So ask the question, what is SUV a sedans? Let's see what answers give us. So you don't go and you don't answer that we don't know it. So let's get the answer correct from ChatGPT. So an SUV is a sport utility vehicle, and I said there are two different types of vehicles that cater for different needs and preferences. So SUVs are typically larger vehicles with a higher ground clearance. They often have a boxy shape and can accommodate more passengers and cargo. Most SUVs can have a seat of 5 to 7 passengers and have an ample cargo space, making them suitable for family and alcohol. So we're not talking about SUVs now is now like the passenger vehicle now. That's what it means. While sedans are like the car. That's what it means here from what you are reading here. So let's see what the sedan is, because here SUVs have a seat of 5 to 7 passengers and have an ample cargo. AW, that's all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. So you see the sedan is typically smaller than SUV and have a more streamlined lower profile. They usually have 4 doors and a separate trunk for cargo. Okay, fine. So that is just that. So you see, without us not knowing, we can just easily think that we don't have anything like XUVs and sedans here. But now with the help of AI in our Excel, we can see that we can actually differentiate what an XUV is from what a sedan is from what we have over here. So this means that our car vehicle type, the car is a sedan, while the SUVs are passengers, because passengers can carry more than 5 persons and have more than 4 doors. Some of these passenger vehicles have a bigger door, like the Sienna or the Ford, or maybe a bus, as the case may be. But car is normal 4 to 5 passengers, because normally at the back of a car, you have 3 passengers, while in the front, you have the driver and the wife, right? So what it means is that how does the average cube width of a passenger car compare to that of a passenger vehicle type compared to car vehicle type? So let's come to vehicle type. And then the next is the cube width. So let's come to cube width. So we are going to change it from sum of cube width to average cube width. So let's click summarize by average cube width. Fine. So here is what vehicle type. So see how we are embedding AI in our analysis to make sure that we get the actual results we are looking for. So here we've seen that the average cube width for SUVs, as the case may be, which is passenger vehicle, is 3.2, while the average cube width of sedans, which in this case car, is 3.8. So you see that the average cube width of SUVs, comparing it to that of sedans, SUVs have lesser cube widths compared to that of sedans, right? Or you can say passenger vehicle type have less cube width compared to that of car vehicle type. So that's just the thing. So what it means here is that the SUVs, open bracket, passenger vehicle type has less cube widths compared to that of sedans, which is a car vehicle type. At 3.2 vs 3.8. So that settles it. The next is the 7th question. How does the yearly sale value of passenger vehicles compare to that of car type in terms of average yearly sale value? So the same thing again, vehicle type, yearly sale value. So we are going to summarize by average. I think we've done that before. Let's see. Yearly sale value. We have this now. It says which vehicle type has the highest average yearly sale value. Then here we are having another one too. How does the yearly sale value compare? How does the resale value of passenger vehicles compare to that of car type in terms of average resale value? So we already have gotten this. So you can use this number 2 to answer question number 7. So let's just copy this guy and also put him here. So you can use one pivot table to answer 2 questions. The first number 2 question is the highest yearly sale value, average yearly sale value based on vehicle type, and we have it here. 7th question says, how does the yearly sale value of passenger vehicle compare to that of car vehicle, right? In terms of average resale value. So we already have the answer here, and then get it by this pivot table. So let's just jump into question number 8. And it says, question number 8 says, let's cut this guy off. This. What is the trend in sales over the years for the top 3 selling models? So let's come here. This guy says trend in sales over the years for the top 3 selling models. So let's keep the models. Put out all the models here. Then what's this trend in sales? So let's come to sales, which is sales in 1,000. Now this. So it says, what is the trend in sales over the years for the top 3 selling models? So let's put the year, which is the latest launch. Okay, year, no, this is year. Let's see for year. Manufacturer model, sales in 1,000, yearly sale value, So I'm looking at latest launch as the column we are going to be using for this, because there's no other column that bears a date data type apart from the latest launch. So other things are all there. So latest launch is what I'm going to be looking into. So latest launch, this. So we can put latest launch somewhere. Where do you keep it? Latest launch. Okay, fine. Let's just get the top 3 selling models first. So what's the trend of in yearly sale? What is the trend in sales over the years for the top 3 selling models. So let's just get the top 3 first. So we're going to the what's it called? Value filters and get top 10. So to filter top 10 models, we are filtering top 3. This time around by what? The sum of sales in thousands. Because we're looking at the trend in sales over the years. So click on OK. So there's sum of sales in thousands, right? For the top 3. So top 3 models. So let's get the years of what is the trend in sales over the years of the top 3 selling models. So what does this mean? That we are going to be putting the latest launch as a row, then put the model as a filter, right? That's what it means. So that we can just filter out the top 3. Oh, what are the top 3 again? Camry, Explorer, and F series. Camry, Explorer, F series. So let's just filter out Camry, Explorer, F series. Camry, Explorer, F series. Camry, Explorer, and F series. Fine. So this is what we are looking for, right? So what is the trend in sales over the years for the top 3 selling models? So these are the top 3 selling models. Is Camry, as you can see here, Camry, Explorer, and F series. And these are the sales over the years. So in 2012, we sold a particular vehicle. I don't know which one is which. So that is why it's important for us to still bring back model in our rows. And possibly we might get with the columns so that it will be easier for us to find out which is which. So this is much better, right? So here is the dates. For column level is the model. So this is the top 3, as you can see here. Let's just clear. Let's use the value filter and choose top 3. So we have multiple filtering over here. Let's clear the model. Okay, let's just clear the filter. Sort. So let's clear this filter first. Pivot table 9 is still there. Which guy is pivot table 9 again? None of them is pivot table 9. So let's come back again, please, to where we were before now. Fine. So let's have this. So this is the top 3 because we filtered for the top 3 first. Right? This is the top 3 where we do value filter and we do top 3, right? Top 3 items, okay? And this is the dates. Let's still carry. We might want to move this latest launch to columns. Okay. Let's see. So let's insert a space. Now, why this is happening is because I didn't answer the question individually before creating a pivot table. So it's bound to happen. So still asking for a null space. I wonder. Okay, let's give it a null space then. Right. So let's move this to this. So we couldn't complete action for the pivot table 9 in the sheet because the existing sheet there. Make sure the space again. So what type of space does this need for him to have this guy come over here? Okay. So how do we go about this guy? Put model here. That will not be right because we can't do the. Okay, let's just try the top 10 sharp. Let's see. Oh, so it works. So all we did was to also filter, since we already have a filter existing for the row labels, and since latest launch is finding difficult to go to the columns, you have to move models to columns and then come to labels and then value filter, top 10 and 3. You click OK. So it still gives us what we are looking for, right? So here is the date. So this is what we are looking to achieve. And then here is the models. Fine. So you've answered all questions as supposed to be, and we don't need this pivot table any longer. Let us just delete it. To delete it, click and highlight the entire space it is located at, and then hit delete in your keyboard, and it is out. So if you answer the question, I say, what is the trend in sales over the years for the top 3 selling models? For the top 3 selling models, you've seen it, right? This is the trend in years over. This is the trend in sales over the years for the top 3 selling models. And the top selling models there is Camry, Explorer, and F series. And they're also that's 249 in $247,994,000. So the highest of them is what? F series. F series, so that's $540,560,000. Awesome. So you answer this question using pivot table. You answered all the questions you have so far with pivot table. And we see that question number 2 can be answered. The table for question number 2 can be used to answer the question for number 7 as well. And we're also seeing that we can get a wonderful response from using pivot table to analyze every needed objective we have so far in our data set. So we are all good to go. What remains now is to start visualizing the data. So to visualize data, we need to understand principles of data visualization. I've given us a reading where we have to go through it. And let me recap what that reading is. We're just going to focus on this particular type of data, which is the data charts commonly used in Microsoft Excel and every other kind of analysis in the packages. So we have a bar chart, we have pie charts, heat maps, the lines, then the scatter plots. So if you are looking to compare categories and quantities, we use the bar chart. So those questions that have compare, relate, categorize, and the rest of them, we use a bar chart or a column chart to visualize the comparison between categories and quantities. Then we use a pie chart when we're trying to get the proportion of a whole, right? Proportion of a whole, that's where we use a pie chart. Sometimes you see a question like, in your primary school days, they ask you, you have 5 oranges and you're meant to share it between 5 persons in the ratio of 1:3, right? So that is the kind of thing that can lead to using a pie chart for analysis. Then the heat maps, which you've done already with conditional formatting, is used to visualize data with 2 dimensions across a color spectrum. Just like we saw with conditional formatting, we said initially that conditional formatting can be used to create heat maps, right? Can be used to create heat maps. Then the next is the line charts. The line charts can come in combo, where you can combine a column chart and a line chart, or a bar chart and a line chart, and it's used to display trends over time. So that question that has trends, we use a line chart for it. Then we have a scatter plot. A scatter plot is used to do correlation between variables. And we have a question that talks about correlation. That is perfectly displayed with a scatter plot. So you see, when we say analyzing data involves us looking out for patterns, finding trends and relationship, that is just what we do here. The questions we have seen showed us the relationship between a particular value and the other value, a particular data point and the other data point. And it also compares to help us to find out the trends and the patterns it follows while looking into the data sets. So you see, when we say analysis is where we find out the trends, relationship, the correlation between data points, the pattern that it follows. That is what we mean by analysis of data, right? Analysis of data is where we perform data analysis in order to find trends, relationship, and patterns which will help us to solve a particular business problem. And here we have this completely shown since we are using the advanced Excel to pivot table to answer this question. So quickly, let us see how we can insert charts for these data types. Remember that we said that initially, pivot table cannot work for all the data charts. So for those of the data that needs us to use scatter plot, we are going to modify the data output in order to fit into using scatter plot. So here is the models. Let's start visualizing this. So this is a category data set in column 1, and this is a quantity. Remember that we said that category and what? Quantity for bar chart or column chart. So over here, we're going to use a column chart to visualize this because they are all the same. Column chart is vertical in nature, while the bar chart is horizontal in nature. So you go to pivot table, it is analyze, which is the column that the standard menu that comes for you, or tab. So you see just under the pivot table analyze, you see the pivot chart. Click on it. And you're choosing what? A column chart. So you're choosing column charts. And there you go. You have just this. So let's just reduce it from here and have this over here. Now we're going to format this chart to look beautiful so that when someone sees it, he'll be happy with what we have. And we are dealing with manufacturer car sales project. So a car that comes to my mind is Audi, which has a black texture, right? So I'm going to start formatting this chart. First thing first is to remove these field buttons. These are all field buttons coming from what you have applied in your pivot table. So I'm going to right click on it. You see where it says hide all field buttons on the chart, right? Or you go to the same pivot table analyze extended tab. You will see field buttons just under it while working on a chart. You see field buttons and you click on hide all. So this removes all. Click on it again, it brings them back, right? All right, click hide all field buttons on charts. See, the same thing happens, right? So when you do that, it disappears. The next is to remove the the vertical axis, that is this left-hand side over here. This is called a chart style. Why this is called a chart, sorry, this plus icon is called a chart element button. Why this is called a chart style button. All right. So when you click on the chart element button, you can see elements of the chart. So first thing first, let's remove the vertical axis by clicking on the arrow of the axis and click on primary vertical. Is that right? So no longer are we seeing numbers here. And the next is we want to remove the grid lines. These lines, we want to remove all of them. We don't need them. So remove grid lines and remove legend as well. So we have a better chart as it is. Hence, we are going to add some data labels to it if we wish to. Right? It's always important because we want to know what each of the columns of the column charts represent, since we don't have any axis on the horizontal axis. So then let us now choose a style for our charts. Maybe let's go to style. Let's choose a style for our charts. I think there's no style that's applicable here. Let's just go to color. And possibly you're going to be choosing a black color. So let's go to monochrome. We have colorful, which is this. So anyone you choose has an effect on your charts, right? And we have monochrome. So I'm choosing monochrome as the case may be because we are looking to have black feel, but we might still change this later on, right? So since we have to change it because we want the background of this chart to be black while the bars are white. So we might want to just choose white as a color after we might have done choosing the background to be black. So on the chart, which is this guy, just double click inside of it and use the title models average horsepower of vehicle models. So we're going to use average horsepower of Acura vehicles, right? So Control A to select all while you're working on the text box. Come to your home tab. You say your home tab is a go-to home for formatting. So we want to format this chart. So make it bold, keep it at automatic, reduce the font size and let it be this right. So next is to make sure you have the format pane. So to get the format pane, you can easily double click on a chart, on a column, and you have the format data series out for you. Or if you don't have it that way, you can just click on the charts and then come to the design tab, which is the third tab above your ribbon. Click on it. You will see the format selection on the current selection ribbon control. Click on format selection, and this also came out for you, right? So I'm going to fill the chart with black. So click on solid color. You see the bucket. This bucket is always here in the home tab as well. Click on bucket, choose black. So I'm looking at a wonderful black color that is going to be fitted. Dark black is okay, right? Fine. So that's Audi color. Then the border, we click on, scroll down to rounded corners for borders. And then the cap type, make it round. Allow the joint type to remain as it is, and as it is what round. So again, the width, reduce the width of the border to 0.5. And after that, click on no line. It will still remain bordered the way it's supposed to be, right? So you must have chosen rounded corner first, chosen the cap type to be what it should be, that is round, before you now have to leave it at no line. Because if you choose no line first, this particular texture we have here will not be applicable to it. So let's click on the chart title again and go to the home tab. Then the font color, change to white. Then click on the data labels. Click on them. When you click on one, it affects the rest, right? So you click on the automatic, the white font color. So we are leaving it at Calibri as the font size of this particular chart. Let's make the default Calibri. Then for the title of the horizontal axis, which is the modus, we are going to make it white and then bold, right? So it says average horsepower of Acura vehicles. That's what it is. What's the average horsepower of vehicles manufactured by Acura? So that's just what it is. Then what do we need to do next? We need to make sure that the width, the space between this particular column is too much compared to each other. It is spaced accordingly, but then the gap width is much. So we want to reduce the gap width, and to do that, you need to click on the column. Then under the format data series on the right hand side of your worksheet, you will see the next series option there. After the bucket fill and line, the effects and then series option. This must have occurred after you have clicked on the column of the chart or the bar of the chart. Then under the series overlap, we're leaving it at 0. Then for gap width, I love working with 42%. And I have this. Now at least the space between the three widths, the three columns we have is not as big as it was before, right? So after that, you come back to the fill buckets to fill the columns. So first, there's no line for the border, no line for the border. Then fill should be a solid fill using black. So the color is changed to black once we click on solid fill, because we've done that before for the chart itself. But because it is there for the chart, it took that same form. But now you want to change it to white. Let's change it to pure white, 100% white. Fine. So it should not be in 100% transparent, because when we do so, we will not see it again. Are you seeing what happens here? So leave it at 0% transparent. So after that is done, check again. Looking at the chart is not looking a little bit better. So this is how you can format your charts to look absolutely wonderful at the end of the day. Now you can see that this chart is looking beautiful, showing us the average horsepower of Acura vehicles. As you can see here, that the average horsepower of Acura vehicles. But you want to add this particular 191.667, maybe. You want to add it, no problem. You can still add it just somewhere here as the average result, because that is what we're supposed to see, right? But let's say you want to visualize this, because you know that the chart cannot take up the grand total. What do? We need to add it with a text box over here to get this 191.65, or we can just visualize this guy all alone. So let's see how I can do that with just visualizing this guy all alone. Let's try to put private charts. Okay, I don't think that's possible for my own end. Let's see. Oh wow. Show details. I'll click on something else. Show details. That's different. So let's see. All right, let's continue so that we get to that later on. Let me just remove this guy here. Close this. All right. If you need it again, you come to Pivot Tab Analyze, click on Field List, it's back. Remove it, it's out. Come to Pivot Tab Analyze, click on Field List, it's back. So that is just that. We've seen how we can answer questions with Pivot Table. You see how you can use Pivot Table to analyze data. I see that here we have noticed the pattern and the trend and relationship each of the objective questions have, and we have seen how we use Pivot Table to answer all those questions. But how we can insert a pivot chart, which is a column chart, and format it accurately and perfectly to fit into what we need. So when we call back next time, we are going to finish up with the remaining 7 charts we have. All right, with the remaining 7 charts we have, and after that, we will now get into visual reporting, and then we use AI to draw analytics insights into all we've designed so far. So thank you very much for joining tonight's class. It's really appreciating to see you once again in this particular segment of our project. It's not easy. You've come a long way from day 1 now to the 17th. The journey is slowly and quietly ending. So by tomorrow, the last lab, we are going to finish all we need to do for this particular data set. We are going to make sure that we have every chart necessary to answer every question, and then we will now build our visual reports using the charts we have. Thank you, and see you tomorrow, which is the last day of our class sessions. You have a wonderful night. Bye.